Hey, everybody. Thanks so much for being here with us. It's I, Tyler Ellison. I have my amazing friend StarShine from the Sassani universe bringing to us the Sedona Vortex as we broadcast to you from the East Coast, from the West Coast, all around the planet. It's awesome to be here with you, Star. How's everything flowing in the Sassani Sedona dimension?
Hey Tyler, hi guys. Yeah, everything is just, it's Sedona, right? So things are always just like flowing and perfect. And yeah, I'm sitting in my backyard. I was telling Tyler, let me like zoom you some Sedona energies. But yeah, everything's sunny and peachy, I guess. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. There's been so many amazing updates in terms of the channeling. I think we've all noticed it. I have been feeling it. There's a lot of new information and new energy coming in that has been particularly revelatory. So, the revelatory dimension, this is a lot of connecting the dots, filling in the puzzle pieces that are connected to the cosmic human ET creation story. So, for me, that's been a big focus. And we haven't really talked about this much, but we're going to be doing myself and Starshine. This is two programs. I have one, and myself and Starshine have one together, and they both are kind of like a yin yang pair. So I want to talk a little bit about this. There are a lot of artifacts currently being dug up in Mexico, and they are phenomenal artifacts that very clearly depict the ET human creation story. It's not sugar coated. It like clearly shows DNA. It shows all types of hybrid beings. We have beings with octopus heads and like octopus tentacles as like a beard, beings with elongated heads, hybrid reptilian gray beings, Anunnaki-looking beings, clear references to Saturn. Saturn's depicted across, I would say, many of the pieces that I've seen that have been dug up. So I'm bringing all this up because this is a time where it's not only psychic channelers and intuitives who are getting this information, it's literally coming up out of the earth as we speak. So the training program that we're going to be doing moving into the new year is going to be focusing a lot on activating extraterrestrial powers. Myself and Starshine are going to be organizing this. So stay tuned. We're sort of planting the seed right now. And myself, Mario, and Lynn, we are going to be doing a very deep extraterrestrial alchemy training program. So this involves specifically going in and using some of these extraterrestrial symbols to create the beacons of contact and activation within the self. So we're going to be giving more information as we get closer to this, but I wanted to make these updates and announcements because 2026 is right around the corner. We are getting close, which means 2027 is right around the corner. And I don't know if you guys sensed this, but this was an incredibly fast year. Time is moving at a very accelerated rate. So myself and Starshine are going to be taking advantage of these energies, and we're going to be developing a 12 course training program, 12 psychic skills that you're going to be able to embody and practice regularly. So these skills, these aren't just like things we're like looking up. How do you do this? These are skills that we both train. So this ranges from divination to astral projection to inner intuition, energy healing. It's a big list. And if you feel like that is a specific calling for you, you are, of course, invited to this. So we don't have anything official in our website yet, but we're planting these seeds so you guys know what to expect as we move forward. This is a really advanced audience. I mean, we come here every Friday and you bring us these very powerful, penetrating, and revelatory questions. And that shows all of us how high of a consciousness all of you, our viewers, and the participants have. So that inspires myself and Starshine to meet you all where you're at, to bring to you guys the trainings, the information that's going to help you continue to embody and radiate the success that's always there. I mean, all we have to do is look at the fact that we're still alive. We have made it this far. We have this connection, this community, and even outside of this connection and this community, you have so much going for you, even though you've been through so much. It sometimes is very lonely to be a starseed. Sometimes there's a lot of suffering and isolation. So many of you guys have been through it and it's brought you here and you're on the other side of that. It's almost as if the shadow of the past from all this energy just gets exhaled almost instantly. And now we're at this place together where we can dive in, we can bring the higher information forth. And even in this transmission, those frequencies of psychic gift activation, that is coming in. So I want you to know that even though this program is going to be a few months into the future when we launch it, those keys are coming out now. And you all have this within you. Remember, you have all the chakras, you have all the meridians, you have all the multidimensional layers of the aura, you have all of these things. All we're doing is sharing the energy and the knowledge that's going to help you to maximize your relationship with that spiritual body of light. So, my friends, thanks so much for hearing this. Big updates. And the final update, if you guys want to see RYOKAH channeled live, if you want to see him channeled with amazing beings like Wendy Kennedy, like Daryl Anka, like Rob Gauthier, I'm going to be at the West Virginia channel panel this November, and it is going to be an amazing weekend. I invite you guys to come down. I was there last year in Sedona. That was back in January, right at the cusp of the new year. Absolutely incredible time. And there's so much powerful energy that comes in when you have a whole conference that's channelers. The whole thing is a spiraling vortex. We also have workshops. So you can learn directly from Daryl Anka in his workshop. You can learn directly from myself. You can learn directly from all of the amazing channelers that are going to be there. So we have both workshops and live channelings. In my workshop, we are specifically going over how to create unshakable intuition. So we are talking about the ability to receive guidance regardless of circumstance. It doesn't matter how challenging things are if you have these processes. And these were very powerful processes, all based upon inner resonance, the utilization of the three minds, and also the expansion of the multidimensional universal body. If you can expand to the size of the universe and hold that energy, then you can turn your gaze into the universe and see every nook and cranny, every detail. So all information you need comes right to you. So this is a process I use all the time. I'm not always channeling, you know what I'm saying? I do a lot of sessions, but I still, as Tyler, have to navigate. There's still choices, decisions I have to make, and sometimes important ones. So how do you do that in a way that is beyond just emotion and in a way that's beyond just logic? So we're going to be getting into that intuitive decision making, intuitive information discovery, and universal telepathy. So that is a part of the channel panel workshop, and that is Luminous Links of Love, if you guys want to look that up. So that's my major announcement. And before we dive in, I have to say one more. And thank you guys for listening. I know we want to get into the channeling, so this means a lot that you're paying attention to this. It's really our joy to do it because this Sunday is Arcturian Awakening. So that's going to be me and StarShine together with RYOKAH bringing in the Arcturian beings. And this is going to be a very deep transmission. If you are an Arcturian starseed, this will be a big update. And if you are inspired to learn more about the Interstellar Alliance, if you are inspired to learn about the unified triad that involves Sirius, Polaris, and Arcturus, then come to join us this Sunday because we're going to be getting into all of that. There's a lot of crystalline codes the Arcturian beings help to unlock, and they play a very powerful role in the human world as it relates to upper chakra psychology and organization. So in the Spectacle of Spica, we talked about how the Spicans help to organize our projection of lower chakras and our experience of nature. Arcturus, it's all the upper world experiences that relate to Earth and, of course, those higher expressions of Earth throughout the cosmos. So that is this Sunday, Arcturian Awakening. My friends, let's get started. I'm going to go right into the trance. StarShine will be taking your questions. Remember, this is a great time for collective consciousness-oriented questions or those deep curiosities, those deep mysteries that you want to have explored. If you have personal questions, private sessions are the best. If you slip one in here, it might get asked. And hey, who knows? You might get it here. So I'll see you guys on the other side. Enjoy your time today. Thank you. Well, we thank each and every single one of you for joining us for this ecstatic, co-creative interaction that we summon forth with one another this here, this now of our collective and respective experience of existence. This transmission, light trinitization, is all about the recognition that your aura, when fully activated, takes on the luminous likeness of what you would describe as a tetrahedron. You could think of this as a triangle in terms of a two-dimensional representation. This comes into effect through synchronizing what you have described as your three minds. Upper mind, middle mind, lower mind. Remember that these three zones of the body, your brain, your heart, your intestines, are all rich with neuronal cells. They all function as if they are their own collective mind. So, the upper mind is not just resonant with the higher self, it is also resonant with all of the upper chakras and all of the different regions of the brain, the sense organs. Middle mind regulates breathing, it regulates the heart. It also oversees the initial stages of digestion. Lower mind, of course, deals with the latter dimensions of digestion, as well as elimination, and of course, reproduction, and also direct interface with the Earth collective consciousness. When these three minds work together, they stabilize as three luminous spheres, almost like three suns, one in the head, one in the heart, one in the belly. And when this happens, they take on within the nucleus of their sphere form a trinity organization that creates a type of engine of stability and regeneration, thus allowing for that activated mind, whether it be upper, middle, or lower, to have within its nucleus the balance of the triangle and the three powers, positive, negative, and neutral, working together to create the electrical charge that nourishes that mind, thus nourishing the body. So when that trinity effect of balance is realized in the three minds, the aura will begin to mirror that, but it's going to do that in a way that is not two-dimensional. It's going to do it in a way that is fourth-dimensionally resonant and fifth-dimensionally resonant. So it is as if you are standing or sitting within the center of a pyramid. That's the effect that is aurically produced. As that pyramid within your aura becomes stabilized, it magnetizes an inverted tetrahedron, an inverted pyramid from above that contains the higher self. And this downward facing tetrahedron then overlaps, it overlays itself upon the physical aura, the physical body. And this is what forms what you describe as the activated Merkaba. So those triangles of balance within the nucleus of the spheres of upper, middle, and lower mind, they too take on a star tetrahedron form once that overlay has taken place. So think of it in the following way. Right now, through your daily actions, your mindset, your focus, your values, how you are relating to the world, through this, you are exercising and you're stimulating these three minds. And this is creating a certain effect of organization. When you become masterful in how you relate to these three levels of your being, these three levels of reality, it's as if that triangular nucleus of balance is then established within each of them. And when enough people stabilize this, the collective walk-in phenomenon is summoned forth. And this is when the collective higher self of the species descends. And it is either accepted or it is turned away. When enough people stabilize this energy, it allows for the collective to unconsciously follow that lead, and they naturally begin to express that same level of balance. Remember, the mammalian dimension of the human brain is tribal. So many people are playing unconsciously follow the leader, even though they think they're totally autonomous and independent. Subconsciously, they're looking around. Who's doing what? How do I fit in? What's the next move? Some people, they are a little more bold. What's going to make me stand out? What is everyone not doing? What is fresh? What is new? What is the hottest new trend or download? As you can see, many people, they are externally focused. They're subconsciously on that mammalian level looking for all these different cues. So when you come into the equation with this energy structure, you are activating within them the recognition of that which they are unconsciously seeking. Because other than an activated energy human, the only other reference point they have, for example, is what the normal humans are doing. What do I mean by normal? Those that are following the usual belief systems of your society and your culture. So as you can see, it turns into a feedback loop. But when you come in with these energy codes and you stabilize that and you assist that person in whatever way that you do, they detect that, they begin to mirror that, and it's as if you have a torch and you have lit their torch, and now they will do the same for others. They don't have to even have an awareness of the energy techniques, the geometries, none of that. They just need the feeling. And they need that feeling to communicate beyond the mask. Remember, you can't force someone to awaken. You can't force the flower to bloom. But what you can do is you can create all the conditions, and even more so, even more specifically, you can see what the flower needs to bloom. And if you can help to deliver that, your energy will penetrate beyond the mask, any armor they have, any walls they have, it goes right through. Because many people on your planet, they are seeking. And if you can help them to find the energy substance that they're seeking, which might be something completely unknown to them, they will allow for your energy to penetrate deeper, and they will mirror you in a greater way. We share this with you because in your last few years, humanity's focus has been more introspective. You had many global events that caused people to sort of go within. So there was a sort of hermetic phase that your people went through. And that, of course, was very much needed in a certain sense. When many people had that opportunity to sort of go within and retreat, it led to a lot of realization. Many new levels of the self were discovered. It introduced many challenges. And now an opposite type of dynamic is taking place, where all of that energy, which has been concentrated, is now expanding out into the world. This is why many of you are feeling called to explore spiritual events, spiritual communities, to connect to your soul family, your star family. That sense of expansion that you're feeling, it's not an echo from the past. It is the energy of the leading edge. So remember, expansion that is done through impulse will always lead to an exhaustion. But expansion that takes place from your heart's calling and from a place of inner guidance will produce a fire of nourishing life and light that will eternally sustain you. And that fire of life and light is what is burning in the heart of humanity right now. And it is inspiring many people to expand, to connect, so you can use this energy. It is time for the expansion. You know what it's like to contract. You've been there. You have felt what it is like to contract yourself to the very center point of Earth and beyond. And now you have expanded as a people back out from that Earth nucleus into the surface and beyond in terms of your energy. Remember that your Earth, as you know, has the Schumann resonance. And in terms of a visualization, it manifests as a type of toroidal field around the planet. In addition to this, there is also an extra layer of energy. Think of it as a bubble of energy that toroidal circulation takes place within. That bubble of energy can contract as the Earth inhales and it can expand as the earth exhales, and humanity follows this earth respiration. We have not talked about this before. It is an occult earth science, and we will be getting into this more, but the earth breathes, and as it breathes, humanity on the surface will go through certain phases, certain chapters, certain themes of experience. The inhales that can create a contraction sometimes will cause a psychic awakening and more of a hermetic time. The exhales that create expansions, this oftentimes will cause people to innovate, to create, to express themselves, to commune and connect. So you are in this expansion time. This is coinciding with the splitting prism process. Eventually, the inhale and the exhale become completely synchronized in terms of their energy signature. And when that happens, it's as if the yin and the yang, the two polarities, are completely balanced. What this looks like is all timelines that have chosen life, creativity, love, service, then blend together. That is the effect. The versions of Earth that synchronize with that respiration enter into a portal that is an earth-based collective portal that summons forth the next level of the earth experience, which you would call the next chapter in your new earth storyline. So we share all of these with you because that is the power of your personal vibration. Not everyone on earth needs to have these types of activations and focus in order for this description to manifest. It only takes so many. So you have this capability, you have this gift, you've always had it, and there will be more activations to come, especially in the following transmissions, especially in the various programs that will be offered as we approach 2026. We now make ourselves available to you all for your questions. We thank you for receiving our words.
Good to see you once again. How are you?
We are so delighted to exist and to be able to commune with you and your community, your people, your civilization. And how are you on this day of days?
Perfect as always.
Very good. And let us bask in the natural perfection that is the golden spiral of the existence. And as we spiral, we detect the questions that are approaching.
Great. So let's get started with the first one. So speaking of Three-Eye Atlas, since it is a spaceship, does it have a name that we can connect to it?
There are occult names, secret names that can be used. And when I say secret, it's not like they're being hidden. It's just that they're only revealed through the mind's eye. So you call them occult or hidden names. And there are actually a few. There are 5 major extraterrestrial civilizations that have inserted their consciousness into the mineral composition of what you describe as Three-Eye Atlas. There are 3 civilizations in particular that utilize what you describe as the object Three-Eye Atlas regularly. And these 3 beings will associate with other civilizations that desire to expand and explore the universe remotely. So in that sense, you can think of Three-Eye Atlas as a type of vehicle that extraterrestrial civilizations are able to synchronize with, which allows for them in a physical sense to travel to various regions of the cosmos ahead of time. So that way, their energy, body, and consciousness has all of the codes and coordinates for the various regions of the universe. It's a way of mapping the cosmos. By sending out these types of vehicles and objects, extraterrestrial beings are able to expand very greatly into the cosmos. Do keep in mind, everyone's consciousness has a broadcast range. Your belief systems, your culture, your environment, your matrix, that will determine the limit of that broadcast range. There's ways to bypass that limit. For example, perhaps you want to know what a location is like. So you call up a friend whom is going to be traveling to that location, and you tell them, take all types of pictures, gather me souvenirs, meet some people, make some connections for me, show me what it's like over there. And then they return, they tell you about their trip, they tell you all the places to go, they tell you all the places to stay away from, they tell you the people to talk to, all the hidden things. And then when they go out, they have total context and clarity about how to have the best time of their friggin' lives, as you say. That is the nature of 3i Atlas. And because it is a tool for extraterrestrial consciousness expansion, as we have said in our previous transmissions, it's going to have a psychic activating effect that is profound for your people. So it represents a next level of awakening through all of you coming into contact with those forms of consciousness. Your next level of DNA activation takes place. Remember, this whole year we have been doing DNA activations with the Sassani Universe series. It is no coincidence that this object is approaching. This is what happens when you send out the signals. This is why we have done this with all of you. So more signals can be broadcast that represent your preferred version of extraterrestrial contact. Now that we have prefaced with this, we will get into the nomenclature. In terms of the name, we will access this name. RYOKAH. Re, meaning divine, divine light, divine energy. It is synonymous with your concept of a lion. Re, R-A-I. Ta, T-A-H. Some alternate spellings would actually give it a V for Tav. And this represents earth. Re-Ta. It is the anchoring of the divine onto the earth. This is a secret name you can use. This was a name produced by the Trinity. In order to receive that, I had to telepath with all three of them to receive a different piece of that name. So you can use that to telepath with 3i Atlas and with the 5 civilizations and the 3 major ones that make up its collective extraterrestrial consciousness.
That's amazing. Thank you.
Of course, you are very welcome.
Up next, can humans breathe underwater?
So there are certain energy techniques that can simulate breathing underwater, but it doesn't involve the lungs. It's not as if the nose is inhaling and water is being drawn in. That's not how it works. The breath is still withheld when people achieve this effect. So they hold their breath, they dive into the water. And you see this with many of the tribes that do deep underwater hunting and fishing. Many of them have actually perfected this ability. They're able to stay under the water, some of them for as long as 10 minutes. So this is a skill that has been created. It's adaptive. I don't recommend anyone do this because it could be risky if you bite off more than you can chew. So these types of things, be careful with if you attempt to train it. It can be risky, so be safe, but this skill does exist. As the breath is withheld and the person submerges themselves beneath the waters, they begin to stabilize with the energy body of the body of water that they are swimming within, that they are descending into. Now, do keep in mind that your water, H2O, is also partially made of oxygen. Do keep this in mind, that the honeycomb structure of the water molecules also traps within that structure different forms, different particles, different packets of subtle energies and elemental energies. So it's not just water in your oceans, and it's not just chemicals, natural or otherwise, in those waters. There's also subtle elements that are all trapped within. So if a person is really synchronized with the water, they have good control over their breath, and they are very spiritually active, when that synchronization takes place, their aura begins to expand and contract as they hold the breath. Remember, when you are a fetus, when you are developing in your mother's, how are you breathing? It's not with your nose. How are you breathing? A part of you knows what it's like to breathe underwater. You did it for some time. Everyone here listening to this has done that as an earlier life form. So, how do you activate that? It is said in your Eastern tradition, your Taoist tradition, when the normal breathing stops, the true breathing begins. So, it is through the diaphragms of the body coordinating in a pumping motion that allows for the aura and the energy body to suction in to the structure the various particles of energy that are needed for life. So even though the person's not breathing, they're getting fresh life force because their aura is expanding, contracting through the activation of the diaphragms, and it's siphoning the energy that's stored within the water. And it's a direct form of accessing that energy. And it nourishes them like oxygen would. So this is mechanically what happens when that skill is used. There will be, upon open contact and the integrations, transferences of technology, and there are technologies that will allow for people to descend to the depths of the ocean in nothing more than an outfit. And it will also allow for them to ascend into their skies. So there are technologies that allow for this. And of course, when there is a level of relevance, these types of things can be shared, but these are some of the technologies that are in existence and that can allow for some of these things to actually be experienced. So there are more technological gifts that are in store. We have talked about this in certain private sessions, but we're sharing all of this with you now because many of those very powerful dreams you had as children, being able to fly, being able to swim to the bottom of the sea, things like this, it's not as far out as you might think. If we can travel through the cosmos, we have no problem at the depths. We have no problem at the higher levels of the atmosphere. So you can be like this. You have that capability as well. Be safe. Don't do anything stupid, as you say, with this information. Be intelligent. Train well if you are going to train breath retention and things of this nature.
Thank you so much. That sounds very exciting for sure.
Absolutely. We are thrilled to share it, and we appreciate the question.
So there's another question about human abilities, and that is, will we be able to talk to dead people?
Yes, most certain. So remember, you have this now. You have mediums, you have psychics who can do this, and many of you have actually had your deceased relatives show up to you in dreams, show up to you in visions. So this ability exists now. However, as the veil thins and as those whom are riding the leading edge continue to sharpen their psychic senses, the recognition of those whom have passed on and their still occurring presence is experienced more commonly for people in the collective. Remember, it only takes a few. If you're sharpening these skills and you're part of a community doing it, that puts out a beacon. In all those areas where all those members exist, there will be awakenings. It's how it works. It just takes one person in one area. And I'm not exaggerating. That's one of the reasons why so many of you are seemingly spread out all around the planet. So, in terms of psychic gifts, psychic connections, there will be more that we share here in the future. We are going to ask that you repeat this question to us one more time.
Right now?
Yes, please. There is a specific detail of information that is very relevant.
Okay, so the question is, will we be able to communicate with spirits after open contact?
What are you doing right now?
Right.
You're doing it now. What do you think's driving you? Your spirit. You are always in communication with your spirit. So, one of the things I'm going to ask of you to experiment, to explore, to try on, if you like, is the following. Instead of putting that experience of communicating with the deceased way over here in the future, or maybe just over here in the future, put it in your lap, right here, where you're sitting, where you're standing. Put it right here. Hold it. Hold it. This is a spirit. You are a spirit. You're surrounded by spirits. And what is the message that they're saying? Listen to the spirit of your heart so you can understand the spirit of the heart of those around you, both incarnate and disincarnate. Remember, the disincarnate still have an energy body. They still have a spiritual heart. That's why you still feel your loved ones, even after all that time. Even after the 40-day period, you still feel them. Their soul may choose another densified incarnation, but their spirit goes on forever. That's why you still feel them. They have a spiritual heart that will always be there. So focus on your heartbeat. We have shared an exercise before. We'll share it again. Listen to the heartbeat. Listen for the space between the beats. Stay in this place. You're all used to silence. You know what silence sounds like, what it feels like. The silence between the beats is a special kind of silence. It represents the foundation of love. So when you start to synchronize with that level of silence between the beats, you synchronize with the foundation of unconditional love, which is, of course, the energy currency of the entire universal system. It's how all of the phenomenon and dynamics take place, through that base energy. When your silence and your sense of silence is synchronized with that foundation, you'll sense the foundation of everything. And that's where all you have to do is think of your loved one whom has passed on, and you'll start to telepath almost instantly. So you can achieve that now. We are here to help with that. The physical presence of extraterrestrial beings is also designed to help with that. And we're here today to remind you, you don't have to wait. You do not have to wait at all. This is in your capability now. It might not seem common. It might seem like everyone around you is sort of spiritually perhaps numb when it comes to some of these skills. But just because you don't see those examples around you doesn't mean they're absent. There's so many people on your planet right now with this power and with this ability, and they're actively using it. So we encourage you to practice this. And of course, StarShine and myself and the channel will be teaching this process, that is communication with the deceased. And this will enter into the territory that you describe as psychopompy, which is guiding the deceased, which is an ability you all possess. Just as you guide yourselves towards the light, towards success, towards your divinity, you are able to help those who have transitioned into non-physical to do the same, should they request it.
Yes, that'll be a very exciting program for sure.
Oh, yes.
So there's a question, is participating in 3D systems like the stock market a vote in the direction of a timeline in which these systems are upheld? Or how can we invest in a more aligned manner?
So a few things to keep in mind in your US stock market. Remember, most corporations are owned by a few corporations, and those few corporations all own each other. So it's really a super company with all of these little, you could say, sub companies that people invest in. So you are going to find that if you follow the money, you're going to find the manifestations that that money is going towards. So thoroughly research your investments, see what you're investing in, see who owns that company, see who has stock in that company. Listen to the CEO speak. Where is their vision for the company going? Is it a cleaner earth? Is the company helping to fulfill a need? If you can't identify the need they're helping to fulfill, it is likely not a corporation or company that is designed to serve the best interests of your people. So it's important to keep those things in mind. Some corporations, some companies, their only job is to try to alleviate boredom. to distract people. And they take advantage of a human brainstem and try to milk it for all that it's worth. There's companies like this right now. Their 10-year plan is how do we get people more addicted? They spend millions of dollars on discovering that. So research who you're investing in. You don't have to go in blind. Which companies are actually making a difference in your world? Which companies are helping? Which companies take care of their employees? Because remember, companies aren't evil. They're not bad. Corporations aren't necessarily evil or bad, but they can become incredibly harmful, toxic, if their values are aligned with something other than the benefit and prosperity of the people they're responsible for and ultimately the collective environment. So remember that with a company, there's paychecks. There's people receiving money to take care of their families, to pay their bills, to make ends meet. So there are companies that take very good care of their employees. There are companies that are based in the direction of helping people. So remember, if you invest in those types of companies, if you invest in those types of corporations, you're investing in your society's infrastructure, yes. Your economy's infrastructure, yes. But what are you also doing? You're investing in a version of that that represents human values. And if enough people do that, you start to get a real change. And what does that change? Those companies do better. They're able to pay their employees more. They can more easily fulfill their will and complete their mission. And if it's a mission of service, that's a good thing. So you can play these markets in that kind of way. Remember, we have described everything as a game. If there's a game, it can be won. How is it won? By making it won. Remembering that that is just a projection of your own mind and all possibilities exist. What will be the probable outcome? That depends on your energetic alignment, your prowess, and how you focus as you navigate that world. But that is also within your capability.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
So there have been a lot of videos released in our society with the grays. Could you speak on which ones are authentic?
So what you are going to find is that in your age of contact, there's going to be many people who do channeling. More and more channelers are going to start to emerge, and there's going to be a lot of different perspectives that come through from a myriad of different beings. People in the beginning of their channeling process will usually channel a blended archetype. And what I mean is the consciousness that comes through is more or less a blending of their personality and the genuine extraterrestrial consciousness they're communing with. So in the very beginning, when a person's getting used to channeling, sometimes they might feel a little insecure. They might not trust the information. Maybe they're a little distracted. And there can sometimes be discrepancies in that information, in that communication. But as the person practices, as their mask, their ego gets more comfortable with the channeling, there ceases to really be a difference between the channeler and the channeled intelligence. So when you are listening to channeled messages, especially from the grays, it's important to keep in mind a few things. Point number one, whenever you're listening to a channeled entity, remember, suspend disbelief and also suspend belief. Just perceive, just listen. That's step one. Just perceive, just listen. You're not evaluating the information critically. You're open to it. You're also not buying into it as truth. You're just observing it. That's step one. Step two, take something from that transmission of information that really stood out to you, a point that the channeled entity or source of information made. Take that little sound bite and then repeat it to yourself, first in your upper mind, then in your middle mind, then in your lower mind, and feel if it resonates. If it resonates up here, but your heart spits it out, that's how you know it's not for you. It's not a resonant message. But if it resonates up here, it resonates in your heart, it resonates in your belly, that's an indication there is something there. Whether that person started channeling yesterday or whether they've been doing it for 50 years, if you feel that, there's something going on, and it means there's something for you in that transmission. So that is the second level. The third level, take the teaching experimentally and for a day, try it on. And what kind of effect do you get? You could even make it like a game. When I put on this hat, I'm using the being's teachings. Let's go. When I take the hat off, back in my preferred reality. That's 3. If you approach information with that level of involvement, those 3 levels, you will know beyond a shadow of a doubt the nature of that information, if it's accurate, and what it's designed to do. And that is for all of you. That is a way you can train your discernment.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Can you speak on the origins of Skinwalker Ranch and that whole area? That's a paranormal area, I guess.
The burial of technology. On top of that buried technology, ancient power site used for shamanic ritual, out-of-body journey, and communication with ancestor spirits. So there is an ancient technology buried beneath the territory you call Skinwalker Ranch. This is a part of your pre-cataclysm times. It's very ancient. It gave off a very powerful energy signature that drew more left-handed, if you will, oriented shamans to that area. Doesn't necessarily mean that they follow an evil path because they follow a left-handed path. It means they are like a moth. They find light in the darkness. That was their role. They were drawn to this area. They performed myriads of ceremonies involving very powerful songs designed to stimulate the gateway below. The gateway was not harmed in the cataclysmic events that rearranged the early surface of the earth. And this is because these types of structures have protective energy auras. This is why your pyramids still persist to this day, despite the impact of your Younger Dryas time period. So some of these structures, they are immune to natural disaster. Shamans summoned the energies of this gateway, still intact and still operational, with their songs, with their chants. And it allowed for them to open many portals that enabled multidimensional forms of consciousness to descend, to interface, to interact with them and the area. And it was not just beings coming down. Some of the shamans would go up into the universe. So, fast forward, the Native American tribes scatter, disperse. There is the conquering, as you know, of the Americas. So, what happens? These ancient sites are not maintained. And now, things kind of happen in a more naturalistic way, a little bit more of a chaotic way, because the intelligence that's guiding that technology is really just the earth energy. In those ancient times, it was the shaman class. So this is why it is such a spiritually active area and will remain one.
Thank you.
Of course, you are very welcome.
Can you speak on individuals who live in war zones? What would you recommend to them?
There are so many things to be said, and it is my desire that this information somehow reaches their ears. There are many war zones where internet is not present. Communication with the neighboring countries outside world is not available. So our words are designed to miraculously reach those as well. If you are in a war zone, the first thing I'm going to say to you is allow for all the feelings that you have to move through you. I say this because in war zones, there's a lot of suffering. The neighbors are suffering, the family is suffering, people are scared. Those negative energies can resonate. And this is why wars can become very perpetual. The populace gets scared, the populace gets scared, and it multiplies that negative energy. So when you are in a war zone, don't reject the negativity. Don't try to push it away, even though you'll want to. Your body will say, I'm under attack when you're in a war zone, even though it's going to be there. Do your best to feel every single feeling that washes over you. And as it washes over you, just label the feeling. Anger, fear, regret, terror, dread. And just go through the list. Go through the list. Keep labeling whatever comes up. And what you're going to notice is the feelings move very quickly. The anxiety, the adrenaline spiking. And all of a sudden, you've labeled all the emotions. Every single one. What this does is it tells your nervous system, okay, that's the circumstance. That's what's going on. I've seen it. I've labeled it. And now I've accepted it. Once you are here, the next level is to go into the heart, fill the body with the heart's energy, bring your mind to the crown, send your mind to the source, go beyond the atmosphere. Much of the energies responsible for wars are actually atmospheric energies, negative thought forms that have been circulating in the area. So send your mind. You can even think of your mind as an arrow. It penetrates through that bubble that is the war. Go beyond it. Go way beyond it. This is very important. Go into a star system, a constellation, or a planet that to you represents peace, that to you represents love, and specifically represents protection. This is key. Orion is a very useful constellation. I know many people will say that's a negative constellation, was a negative constellation. Orion has been redeemed and reclaimed, and this happened eons ago. Remember, Orion is in the form of a human. And what is he doing? He is protecting humanity from the bull. So it is a very useful constellation for protection, for synchronizing with the original blueprint. Choose whatever constellation is. For you, it might be the Pleiades, it might be Sirius, but go there and meet with the extraterrestrial lords of light that occupy those realms. See them as divinities, see them as glowing beings, and request that they send their energy helpers to protect your home, to protect you, to help you get the resources that you need, and deeply visualize this from the star, from the constellation. See beings of light descending to your area. From here, see that the energy builds, see that your home is now protected in a bubble of light that comes from that constellation. See that your local area is protected in a larger secondary bubble of light that is empowered by that constellation. You can protect every building in your neighborhood if you want. Divine names of power will also suffice here as well to further amplify the effects. So sacred languages and mantras that relate to the theme of protection, acquisition of needed resources, and peace. This is going to be essential. Now, there's still a war happening despite this, yes? So what is to be done? Ideally, the safest areas should be sought out. If a person is able to exit the war zone and find a sanctuary somewhere, ideally, this should be sought out. It all depends on circumstances, though. For some people, traveling is risky in the war zone. That wouldn't necessarily be good advice. For others, a window opens. Traveling makes a lot of sense. The idea is these energy activations and this connection is going to help the individual to act as a pillar for those around them. So no matter what happens, at least they are aligned, at least they are able to stay relaxed and guide people, which means their decision-making will be clearer. It's going to be more accurate. So they're going to be better guides, superior guides, especially for those whom are in fear. Remember we said in the beginning, many people are playing follow the leader. They don't know necessarily what to do. When they look around and see everyone else in fear, that's what they mirror. So one person as that pillar can really make a difference in those communities and in those areas that are affected by war. So these are things to keep in mind. These are things that can be done. And these do make a difference. They make a big difference. Just as you see a little positive change in your life, making such a big difference in a world like that, that is a war zone, these types of changes can sometimes make the difference between what you call life and death. It's that powerful.
Thank you. so much.
You're very welcome.
Are you in contact with Bashar or Elan or any other Sassanis that we are aware of?
All of them. We're all telepathically linked. We have said in the beginning, and when I refer to the beginning, I'm talking about when I first started speaking through this channel. The Bashar opened the door for so many beings to come through people applying his teachings. A collective energy signature was produced that invited more beings to come forth. This is why I am here in this way. If there was no Bashar, if there was no Elan, I would not be speaking to you. I would likely have been assigned to either a different Earth or a different planet altogether. Because I am here, the Bashar and Elan have succeeded. All the awakening, all of the open-heartedness, this is because the process is going according to plan. And we are very grateful for this. And when I say we, I am speaking as a Trinity in this moment. We are incredibly grateful for this. It warms our hearts. If you could see this, it is as if there is a rainbow aura circulating around the heart, and it connects all of us heart to heart like a living luminous constellation. So this is the joy we feel and sense when we see the progress all of you are making. And when we talk about progress, it's not as if you're grinding and hustling and you're slaving away at becoming your true self. When we say progress, we mean we see you in your highs and your lows, and we see you apply not just what we've said, but what others have said, what your inner being says, to create all types of new solutions and opportunities for you and those around you. We see that happening, and it is miraculous, it is revelatory, and it also communicates to so many other worlds what is possible. There's many souls who have not incarnated on Earth yet. They're watching all of you and they're taking notes. Oh, okay, when I go through that, that's something I can do. Oh, if that happens, I can do this. Oh, how interesting. So it is a very powerful time. And yes, we are in communication. This is one of the reasons why we regularly mirror what the others say. And what I mean by this is we validate many of the intuitive points that are brought up without the channel even knowing about those points. So that is one of the key details to pay attention to. You will notice if you listen to these three channelers, you're going to hear very interesting points of resonance. You'll also hear very unique perspectives because we all have a different point of focus. The Bashar is very organized in terms of his focus around your society, your collective consciousness, how people are relating to one another. This is why he had his social experiments. I myself, I am focused on more multidimensional upper world views. And my role is to take that energy and to communicate that to all of you as skills and multidimensional forms of perception that you can use. When you combine these different teachings, what you find is the power of passion and excitement then blends with the entirety of the multidimensional structure in a way you can consciously perceive and measure and further act upon. So these three forces can easily be combined and blended together in your repertoire of multidimensional wisdom and insight. That's the purpose of this. And in a certain sense, this is why it's a trinity. And this is also why we have described this transmission as light trinitization.
All right, thank you.
You're very welcome.
Up next, so there's a lot of animals that end up as roadkill in road accidents and such. Can you speak on this? Are they aware of the fact that they are going to die? How does that work
A
exactly?
certain level of them is yes, but a certain level of them is not. So the animal also has a higher self, middle self, lower self. However, the lower self in the animal is more primarily focused as the point of attention within the animal's consciousness. So your middle self, when you're balanced, is usually your point of focus as a human. For ETs, it's more higher self, animals lower self, and this is where you can see the distinguishing differences between these different categories of being that you would call animal, human, ET. Lower mind, middle mind, upper mind. So the lower mind of the animal may not necessarily know. They may be focused on something else completely. They might be following a scent. They might be following a animal that they saw. They might be returning on a route that to them is usually a safe route. So they're following a behavioral script. This is the way that I go. This is the way that I go. There are certain vehicles, as you know, incredibly silent. They don't make a lot of noise. Animal might not notice that if it's too focused. The animal also might not know exactly what it is. So sometimes when the animals are in the headlights, they freeze because they have no idea what's going on. And this is oftentimes their mammalian brain, in particular their reptilian brain, going into that fight or flight response. So on that lower mind level, they may have no idea what's going on. On that higher mind level, they know exactly what's going on. And remember, all deaths are just as significant as a birth. Just as you have your magical astrology and numerology to read the birthday and name of a person, why not do the same thing on their last day? Then you would have the beginning and end. So deaths are just as significant as births. Remember, a death in one reality is a birth in another. Never forget this. Doesn't have to be a birth in a physical body. Sometimes it's a birth in the spirit world as the true you. So every death is a birth. So when animals become roadkill, when they're hit by vehicles in this way, yes, on the higher self level, that's their exit point. They picked it. Furthermore, they got to teach a human being about the lesson of life and death. They got to teach a human being about how fragile life can be, or at least seem. They got to teach a human being what happens if they are rushing around in certain cases. In other cases, they get to show a human being what the cost is if they're not paying attention. Sometimes the animal says, remember, you too. The earth will call you one day as well. Don't forget. This might sound grim, but how precious is your life when you think of that finite amount of time? Everything becomes very precious when you remember there's a punctuation point at the end of the sentence. So the animals sometimes will communicate this to humans. When people act like they're going to live forever, sometimes they will act in ways that are foolish and in ways that don't think about the hidden consequences or costs. When you remember your limits, immediately there is a humility and an empathy that is developed between you and all people, because you're not the only one with those limits. All beings were born. All beings will return to their source. Thus, the universe expands and contracts, evolving itself with every beat of its heart and every respiration of its breath.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
So maybe we can take our last question for the day.
That sounds ideal to us. Let's take a look at the final question for the session.
Okay, this one is actually about you and the channeler. So when open contact happens and the Sassani finally come to Earth, will you be making physical contact with Tyler?
When necessary. So it doesn't mean I'll be living with him. Doesn't necessarily mean I'll be dwelling physically in the neighborhood all the time, but when necessary, yes, he will have physical interactions with me. Yes. He doesn't always need that type of physical presence. We are very resonant. So if he were to spend a great deal of time with me physically, he'd become more like me. He'd become less terrestrial and would likely choose to leave Earth with enough of that energy. So he will interact with me physically when needed. And that will be on a consistent basis. This may be a few times a year. This may be spontaneously when he least expects it. But yes, I have visited him before. I have done this in my craft, and he had multiple witnesses with him when this occurred. So That represented the first level, the initiation into the channeling, relationship together. And now you are preparing for that next level, which occurs as you move through the 2027 portal. At that stage, we're going to be in the next level of our dynamic, myself and the channel, which means, of course, I will have to present myself in a way that transcends just the manifestation of my vehicle. So these types of things will happen. Remember that our energy is a little more high vibrational than some of the other hybrids. So it is probable that species such as the Yael will interact first to sort of set the stage. As you get used to that, it is probable my species will then be proximal in line. There are a few others whom could come before us. It all depends on how you acclimate to that first wave of extraterrestrial energy. If you take it very well, if you integrate it very well, you can handle higher vibrational beings. Remember that extraterrestrial beings project reality just as you do. You project your Earth, and when we're on your Earth, we project our version of your Earth. And when we're physical, those two things come together. So you have to be able to hold that vantage point to meet us. The channel trains in this. This is why it is able to be achieved between myself and him. In a more private way at first, this will likely expand in the years to come. Remember, CE5 events. Right now, the ships show up. They do very interesting movements. Sometimes they flash the whole sky with light. And as you continue to stabilize that link, they get closer and closer and closer. So you can keep that foot on the gas pedal if you prefer. That's within your power.
Thank you so much, Ryoka. That was a very funny answer. Much love to you.
Of course, you are so welcome. Our unconditional love and appreciation to each and every single one of you. We thank you for all of the exciting, creative, and enjoyable questions you have shared with us this day of your collective experience, this night of your collective experience, and this now of your collective experience. Good day, ha'atu, aveo.
Too.
Okay, we're back. Heck, yeah, everybody. What a powerful transmission. Thank you, Star. I love it. I love it. Powerful times, everybody. We had amazing questions. I only remember when he talked about like winning a game. He was like, it's won. That one part I remember. The hand gesture here reminds me of it. What a great time, guys. Thanks so much for submitting these. Remember that this skill, this information evolves through your question and your evolution. As you evolve and continue on this path, and we regroup each Friday, we're at a higher level, all of us consistently. So I thank you guys for being a part of this. There's a lot of folks out there, they're looking for their spiritual community, they're looking for their spiritual path, and they're looking all over the place. And it can create uncertainty, skepticism. I feel so amazing that I, together with all of you, have found and created this community because I don't have to seek, I don't have to search. I sit down in my chair, and the people that love this world are here. The information that grows this world flows. And that's a huge gift that you guys have given me. StarShine, you contributed so much to this. This community has grown, and so many amazing people have come into this world through the amazing change that you have made in the online presence of the Sassani people. So thank you so much.
Yeah, that's what we do, and we're gonna do more of it for sure. And I'm super excited for you because somebody asked whether you would be making contact with Ryoka when he lands.
Yeah.
So that's on the table too for you.
That was the first time I was ever asked that, and it was trippy. He was showing me. There's actually a field by my house. I like walk to it each night and do a little stargazing. And in that moment when that question was asked, I specifically had like a flash of him and me in that field, and like sort of staring at each other, which was a very powerful experience. I don't usually have visuals of him like looking at me like that. So there's a reality behind that question that got activated. So I appreciate you guys diving deep and asking things like that.
Awesome.
Oh, you guys,
Okay.
this is a lot of fun. I don't want to keep us here all day, but I'm really feeling the vibes. I could hang out here probably for another hour or so and still be having a blast. I'll sign off. I'm wishing you all an amazing Friday. Have a great time. Get out and see your friends. Do something silly. Remember, you got a spine, so you can give it a wiggle to your favorite song. We recommend it. We'll see you guys in about a week for the next live stream, and we'll see you all this Sunday for Arcturian Awakening. Have a great here and a great now, everybody. We'll talk to you all soon.